Oh, I'm a gummy bear. Yes, I'm a gummy bear. Oh, I'm a yummy tummy.
I'm going to take you through a way of creating an area in Twine with a whole bunch of interlinked locations that aren't hugely distinct from one another in such a way that you only use a few passages. I'm not a mathematician or a coder, so if you know what you're doing, this might not be the video for you. There's a lot of discussion on on Rogue Basin and places like that. But if you're a beginner like me, this might be interesting. So this is a way of creating maybe the interstices, the ligaments of your world. I want to first quickly show you my first attempt at this. And as you move north, this variable increases. As you move east, this variable increases. And I use this operator, modulo, which basically divides this variable by this number and outputs the remainder. I just squared it to get rid of the negatives. In a particular quadrant, when north-south modulo squared is equal to east-west modulo squared, you'll get one set of options on this kind of stairway of locations. And if not, then you'll get the other one. And the way that works, so it's basically working out whether you are an even or an odd number of steps to the north, and whether you're an even or odd number of steps to the east. But like I say, it's more trouble than it was worth. So let's try something different. So you might want to start with something like this. This is just a 10 by 10 grid. The ones represent impassable objects. The zeros represent distinct locations, but not too distinct that your character or protagonist or player can freely navigate through. And I've put walls all the way around just because it's going to be easier. You could create code to find yourself an exit from one area to another. But just for the purposes of this demonstration, it's a lot easier. Another possibility to think about is that you might have a map that's a little bit like this, except instead of having all the zeros traversables, you could say have all the 2 to 9s traversable. And you could have areas like this that share the same description but are not otherwise functionally differentiated from this kind of area here. So I don't know, this is your swamp, this is your forest, and these are your giant stone ones that you can't walk through, or whatever. But forget about that for now. We'll just have places you can walk through and places you can't. So in this example, it's these stock still staring strangers that are forming the walls that your character can't navigate through, but obviously it could be anything. Okay, so we're going to use a variable type called an array. Possibly you could use a data set. I don't really know how those work. Which you define either by typing array : or by using just the a colon. So set $map to open parentheses a : 0, 0, yada 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 yada, and then you're going to close your parentheses. What we really want is to take all this, let's just drain the swamp, cut down the forest. I'm going to turn this grid into a great big list of locations. There's probably a way more elegant way of doing this. So there's your map. So there your variable, which is called map, contains all the information about the places that the character can go or can't go. It starts counting at 0, so that is the 0th item of the array, and that's the first item of the array, and so on. And I think there'll be 100 items there. So I'm going to create another variable called location, and what's the top left hand corner? It's 11, right? I think it's 11. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. That's actually the western wall. 11. Okay, and then so we'll do a little bit of description. This is a really quick way of creating a link to another paragraph. It will create a new paragraph called Time to Leave. So this is our paragraph, Time to Leave. The cloud of staring is pretty big. And then we're going to create a new paragraph called Directions. What display does is it runs that paragraph, it prints the text that appears in that paragraph, or it runs the code that appears in that paragraph, kind of inside this paragraph. So whereas goto would kind of interrupt this paragraph so that we wouldn't be able to read this stuff, and anything that happened here would never be run. Directions is going to get embedded in the middle of that. And I'm just going to copy that map for reference. For reference, I'll use the HTML pre-tag, but we'll just keep it as a grid. Location number 11, so that's there. This is actually a map I made earlier, and I've kind of filled in some X's there, so don't get confused. It just looks a little better. Okay, so now we need to create directions. I go and I click passage. It's good to have a convention for the orthography of your paragraph titles. In other words, I tend to keep everything lowercase because it is case sensitive and you get confused otherwise. Okay. Well, let's just let you move north, south, east, west. If you want to move north, well, let's do east first. If you want to move east, okay, that's going to increase your location by 1 point. So you're moving kind of to the right on the map. So set location to it plus 1. Likewise, west, can you guess? Minus 1. What are north and south going to be? It's a 10 by 10 grid, right? So south, you actually have to move back 10 places, which is the equivalent of moving up 1 place. And north is going to be forward 10 places. Plus 10. So say we're in location 11, we move east, that's going to put us in location 12. Or if we're in location 11, we move south, that's going to put us in location 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. 21, so 10 points along. So this is the paragraph that works out which direction you can actually travel in. And what we need to do is work out if there is an obstacle to the east, for example, and if there is, don't display this link. So, if I think this works. Location plus 1 is 0, which means there's an obstacle there. Sorry, which means there's no obstacle there. Then display this. So what that means is inside the array map, read the item on the list that is occupying this position. In other words, location plus 1. So if you're standing at 11, this is saying if the 12th item in the array map is 0, then display east because the way is clear. I'm not totally clear on the syntax for referring to items within arrays. I know you can do things like first of map 10, and for north it's going to be minus 10. So if you're not familiar with if, basically you have a statement in round brackets followed by a statement in square brackets, and if this comes out as true, if map location plus 10 actually is 0, then it will run whatever's in there, otherwise it just stops. If you wanted something to happen, if this was false, you could then put else here, and then whatever you want to occur or display, you put inside the second set of square brackets. Okay, and in fact, let's do that. It's probably the easiest way. Okay, hopefully that's going to work. We need to create the actual paragraph in which this is going to be embedded. So, passage, got a bit of generic text, different ways that we could go, directions. Okay, is that going to work? Maybe. Time to leave. Ooh! Okay, we need round brackets around this. So I guess it does that first. Generates a number, and it doesn't get confused. More brackets. Row brackets have a problem. Okay, so I guess you have it starting with the innermost nested brackets. It works out its number there, so it knows which element of the array it's talking about, and that's enclosed in those brackets there. So it figures out what's in that position in the array, it then compares that to this number here. So hopefully it should work now. So I think we got it working. Oh, man. Aha! So we need to actually tell it to loop back once we've clicked on something. So that will be north set location to location -10, and then we go back to just over here, location, and it's the same for all of them. So there we are there. Good, we can move east, we can move south, we can't move west, we can't move north. Perfect. South. South. So it will be good to have a way out of this area, since it's got walls on all sides, so we can do something like 8. We'll have like a hole in the ground. Aha! A hole in the ground to hide in. And that link will take you to your paragraph called Escape Area. Okay, so I've also added some random ambient effects that I'll talk about in the next video. And south, it's too crowded. East, too crowded to the north, south. I bet I'm here somewhere. East, and there's my hole in the ground, and I'm gonna go down it.